All right, I think we are live. Horror movies are some of the most exciting experiences that we have as film goers. From spooky houses to creepy monsters, they entered our pop culture in an undeniable way. So we thought that today we would fight it out in a movie war battle scenario. So sit back, lock your door, and listen to this spoopy episode of the Untitled Unofficial Podcast of the Movie Talk by Movie Fans Facebook group. I think that's right. One of those. Sweet. Super professional, as always. But thank you guys for joining us today. I don't know if you're watching live. If you are the one or two people who has nothing to do today, welcome. This is a live episode of the Movie Talk by Movie Fans Facebook group where we're having an all-out battle for the rights to become the Horror Movie Wars champion. And so in one corner, we actually do have the reigning champion, Devon Taylor. What's going on, Devon?
What's up? What's up? I'm ready to get, I've been getting real spooky all month. I mean, I keep it spooky all year, but this is, we're less than a week in, and this is the perfect primer. I'm ready.
Yeah, and it was actually, I think, around this time last year that we did this, and you reign supreme still. Yeah. And then, according to Facebook, that I think we've been friends for 2 years, like you said. And so I think that was because originally 2 years ago, we did the Movie Wars, like the original.
The league, yeah. That was when we started the league around that time, yeah. Oh man, it's been a good minute. It's been a good minute.
Yeah.
I'm one of the oldies of the group. I'm an oldie now.
Oldie. All right. Well, also here today is Ryan Lowe wearing his best ghost face. So what's going on, Ryan?
Not too much. Just ready to talk some scary movies and try and win.
Try and win. Yeah. I mean, that is the goal. But also here we have Anthony Douglas, who's going to keep us honest about all the ins and outs of horror. He'll be our fact checker today. So Anthony, do you feel like you are up to the task?
Oh, I feel like I got it. I got IMDb on the open. Wikipedia is up. We're good to go.
Those are just like the two sources you need.
That's all you need.
All right. So, so if you don't know what Movie Wars is, the format, we just have two kind of main round questions, and then from there we'll go on to some speed round questions. But the first person to, let's say, 5 points is going to win today. So it matters whether or not you get the opening ones, but you can always come back in the speed round as well. And so we'll have time limits for each of those little segments that we have to make sure we don't go too over time. But additionally, before we jump into that, if you're looking to get more involved, you can jump in on iTunes and Spotify for auto downloads to your devices so that you can get the episodes early. But ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to create community and to create a little bit more togetherness in our Facebook group, because we know how easy it is to troll people and devices. So you can get the episodes early. Yeah. And so we want to create more community in the Facebook group. And so when we post it in the group, just because you subscribe, go ahead and jump on and talk about it. But additionally, if you're getting, if you want to get more involved, you can jump in on Patreon and just support us for $1. And that goes into a pool of money where we buy prizes every month just to give away to the members. And it also helps just host the podcast. So it's just a fun way if you want to get involved.
Help us out. Give us monies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not giving me money. It's giving it to the rest of the group.
It's like you said, it's if you want to actually feel a part of the community, for sure. Like, it's a great thing.
Yeah. And we're not asking for more than $1. You can give more than $1 if you want. Like, if you're a sucker like Anthony and you want to give more than $1 and you just have tons of money, then you can. But it's all up to you. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. We thought one of the most important questions to ask when it comes to horror movies is, what is the best horror movie sequel? So Devon, you have the floor. Go ahead and have your opening arguments for what is the best horror movie sequel.
All right. Well, because I'm me and I always kind of pick movies that you wouldn't really think of at first. But I am picking Final Destination 5. Now, this is the very last one, not the Final Destination, because that ended up not being true because this movie came out. But Final Destination 5, it's Final Destination is one of the best franchises in horror. It stayed very consistent throughout its franchise run, keeping a lot of the same team together, but bringing in new casts and new elements to one of the best premises of all time, like how can you escape death? So the Final Destination came out and it was a disaster. They tried to cash in on the 3D and was by far the worst of the series. And the franchise people said no, because Final Destinations had a very dedicated fan base. And they said, we cannot let the franchise go out on this note. Like, we owe it to the fans to give it a better send off. So then they came out with Final Destination 5, which it finally, it took 5 movies, but it finally tied together the best elements of each one. It was, it was kind of serious like the first one, but at the same time, it had the best comedy elements as it did in the third. It had amazing opening sequence. Like, the initial accent was developed a lot more because it had been 9 years since the original, so technology was up to snuff again. So like the opening scene was a lot better, and and it almost had a meta sense to it, that it was very self-referential to the rest of the franchise as well, and to horror movies. And then the cherry on top was that the movie turned out to be a secret prequel, which does not get enough credit to this day for. It was a secret prequel coming full circle all the way back to the very first Final Destination, because like I said, the creators made this for the fans, and what a ultimate love letter back to the fans that stuck with this franchise for 5 movies to reward them with a fantastic movie that was.
Cool. All right, Ryan, what movie did you pick?
I went with Scream 2, which Scream came out and everyone was like, this is amazing. Wes Craven outdid himself from his previous horror movies. And Scream 2 followed the trend of Scream and poking a little bit of fun and running with the meta tropes from just horror movies. And Scream started doing that with horror sequels and questioned all the rules, flipped things on its head while keeping everything interesting, not just another, oh, they've already done this. They did it, but they did it better, and addressing many more rules and a new world.
Awesome. Well, you guys can fight it out.
I will. So before I rip on these movies, because I got my Freddy little poster in the background. Shout out to Wes Craven. But Scream 2 I think is one of the more overrated sequels, that because Scream already introduced this meta world, and it was it was an interesting take. It was very meta, or self-referential on itself. But then Scream 2, because like what you have to do in any sequel is, you go big or you go different, and being self-referential to the sequels, that it is a sequel, that it has introduces the Stab franchise, the movie within the movie, and it just like it became too meta to where it was like kind of hitting you over the head, versus the first movie, the meta references were more winks, like just like kind of, oh hey, you kind of get this. But in Scream 2, every meta reference was just, here it's more meta. Hey, look, we're the sequel, get it? And we're number 2, so we got to be twice as meta. And it just kind of felt like it was hitting you over the head with that aspect.
I would agree if I didn't think 2 worked, and 3 is where they get over the head. 3 and 4, they're a little too on the nose. With 3, they've got the Stab franchise. Scream 4, they're talking about, well, here's the new generation, what's going on in the new world. This is how the killer would do it. They're getting a little too on the nose. 2, they're still kind of playing in the world that they created. It's a meta world, so if they're not meta, they're not Scream, it's not Stab. That's what they're going for. Final Destination, I know you said 4 is where they tried to they went with the cash grab with the 3D. 5 went 3D as well. I just watched it a few months back, and there's some shots where you can tell it was made for 3D, and they stand out really, really sorely. It doesn't quite work. Granted, they are a little creative. Some of them just don't land.
I mean, yeah, the fifth one was 3D, but at the same time, like it wasn't every single kill was built around it like it was for the fourth one. And and the thing with Final Destination 5, it was the second highest grossing of the franchise. It was also the very first one to actually get a positive review, which is, I know, doesn't sound like much of a compliment, but when in terms to the track record of the longevity of the franchise, this franchise that spanned over 9 years, like I said, kept a lot of the same creative team intact as far as producers go throughout the films, and for the fact that it could still stay fresh and have some of its more refreshing kills. It started subverting itself because we've always known these deaths to kind of be like Rube Goldberg's, and like it's like a series of things. And then this one ramps up the tension and does, kind of stretches these out a little bit longer to kind of reference itself like, oh, hey, you think it's going to be the kill here, but it's actually going to be this. And it got better in its storytelling. Also had a great protagonist too, one of the better protagonists. And yes, like in the grand scheme of like in the Scream world though, like the things that the way that the community treats the events, just it doesn't feel like it's the real world, so it kind of makes like some of the meta aspects and like fall in on itself, because at the same time it still feels like this is in a movie where people are kind of acting like people wouldn't really act in real life.
But that's kind of the point. They're not trying to be the real world. They're living in a meta world of making fun of horror movies and real people, where people, if you hear about a crime and something, you don't start glamorizing it. Some people
Mm.
do, and they take that and they push everything to the extent. They take something, they run with it. Wes Craven and Alex Williamson just ran with what they wanted to go with. You got Stab, where they're they're making a movie and they start a franchise based off of real life events. We've got how many true crime movies based off of serial killers?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely subversive. I think another aspect where Scream 2 falls apart a little bit for me as well is the third act is definitely not nearly as satisfying as in Scream 1. The reveal of who the two killers were, shoehorning in Leo Schreiber's character a lot more to like kind of make him this red herring throughout the film again, versus in the first one, the red herring you think is a red herring, but ends up still turning out to be Billy Loomis as one of the killers. So like it was so much more creatively done in the first one versus the way that the mystery aspect ran it. Because I think what makes Scream very interesting is it has the horror elements, has the metal elements, but the who done it is very fun in that one, versus the who done it in this one was kind of drowned out by the melodrama of them, glamorizing the events and using the franchise and the commentary it has on that. So I think it really suffers in the third act for that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say it's over dramatized. That's definitely 3 by all means, where they're literally on the set of another Stab movie. The second one opens up with the premiere of a Stab movie, but for the most part, they're dealing with the new murders on the campus of somebody going after Nev Campbell. But they're really not talking about the movies for the most part. They're talking about trying to get an interview and cashing in on the horrific events and trying to make it something positive for money. But that's what happens in the real world. People see an opportunity to make money, even though it's at the expense of someone who just went through something dramatic, and they're going with it. As for Final Destination 5, I love it. It's one of my favorite ones, but it doesn't beat the first two. We have another car incident just like the second one, but it's on a suspension bridge, so it's really not too different. It's still a huge car accident. One of the kills is an extreme throwback to the second one with the eye appointment. Uh,
Yeah,
some of
but
them, they stretch them out a little bit too long. and it's like, okay, just get to the kill. I don't know what's going on, but like they drag it a little too far.
Yeah, but I think that, and it's self-referencing other kills. Like, it also was updating these kills to like show them in new context, to show like the progress that the franchise has made over time, to be like, okay, we did this in one way. And if you go back and watch Final Destination 2, it does not hold up nearly as much as the rest of the franchise does, minus the opening scene itself. But versus, like I said, like the Final Destination 5, it's a testament to the franchise as a whole, like that it's the deaths have progressed, its storytelling has progressed, and ramping and actually building tension with their kills before just kind of having these like quick freak accident kills happen. It actually, they build up to something, with the gymnastics scene being, I think, the best kill out of the entire franchise.
But that's one great kill. For me, that one stands out. I love that one. But none of the other kills really stick with me. They're just dragged out for the sake. There's no tension in them. Whereas 1 and 2, you don't really know what's going on. 3, they got a little bit creative, but they more just trying to change it to you don't know who's going to be involved. And then 4, we can just not talk about that one.
All right. Well, I think I heard enough from you guys to be able to make a judgment on where you guys stand. But Anthony, do you have any facts or anything you want to clear up, or anything that you need to say before we have a verdict?
Man, I was trying really hard to find a flaw in their arguments, and I just couldn't find one. They were both pretty factual on. They both know both movies very well, and they did a good job arguing for them.
Yeah, and I have about equal amount of notes kind of on both sides. But I just think that overall that Devon just hit Scream 2 a little harder than Ryan hit Final Destination. He still had some good points, but I think I heard more of why Final Destination 5 was a good sequel, whereas I think Ryan he got caught up on kind of repeating himself a little bit. But personal preference, I would go Scream 2, so you have my heart there, Ryan, but I think Devon just argued it a little bit better. So first point goes to Devon.
Boom, boom, boom. That was the one I was more worried about. So if I'm solid to that one, let's go. Let's go.
A little more confident
now
on question 2.
So. Wow.
We'll see.
This one's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, well, question 2, we all have those weird friends who for some reason don't like horror movies, or the people that say that horror movies are stupid or they're not scary, but really they're just saying that because they are scared and they don't want to watch them. So we asked the question, what is the best horror movie for someone who hates horror? So how do you convince them that this is a great genre? And we'll start with Ryan this time. So Ryan, what you got?
So kind of going back to question 1, I'm going with its predecessor, Scream. It's a little bit of everything, which makes it a little more palatable. Scream came along. It's a horror movie with a little bit of comedy. As Devon said before, 2 is very meta. 1, not so much. It kind of plays around with a lot of horror tropes. It is a horror movie at heart. And it plays around with so many different ideas that it feels like an original movie at the same time that it's not something fresh, but it's a weird mix of new and old all thrown into one, and a pretty palatable meal, if that's a good word.
All right. So for me, I went ahead and went with another meta film as well, with Cabin in the Woods. It came out in 2011. And I think the interesting aspect with Cabin in the Woods is, it shares a lot of similar traits as Scream. Like, it's playing with these tropes, with these, referencing itself and being meta. But at the same time, it does it in a more cynical fashion than Scream does. It's it is still a love letter to horror. It leans a bit more on the comedy side. So I think if you're trying to get somebody who's not into horror to watch a horror with you, I think this is a good one, because 1, it is a pretty good balance of horror and comedy. And it's also, like I said, it's kind of a cynical look, and it like kind of makes fun of a lot of these tropes and not just paying homage to past horror. So it's also something that your friend that who is into horror can be like, oh my god, yeah, I've totally had that same thought about, like, when somebody says, let's split up after saying let's not split up, like, like you have that, for them to be like, okay, like if this movie can go ahead and poke fun at itself, I'm gonna have a lot more fun with it as well.
All right, so fight it out.
So, nothing you said about Cabin in the Woods was wrong, but the issue with saying you've never seen a horror movie, here's Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods lives off of how meta it is. It takes everything that Scream does and it goes way past it. I love Cabin in the Woods, but it's not a movie that you show somebody who doesn't watch horror movies. The whole entire first setup, the first 2/3 are going to be fine, but that whole third act payoff, if you don't watch or appreciate horror movies, it's not going to feel the same. There's going to be a lot of stuff where you're like, what are all of these people? There's a lot of horror tropes that they play with and lean into really hard that you get the satisfaction from them if you're a true horror fan. You start them with Scream, and then you go to Cabin in the Woods.
I mean, I'd say I think you could really go either way with it, and like you said, like Cabin in the Woods, it definitely lives off of its references, but you can still watch it, and one, you can enjoy it for yourself because Cabin in the Woods is so highly rewatchable. So if you start them off with this, and then say you get through the end of Cabin in the Woods, and the third act is just a kind of a full-on horror onslaught, they enjoy that, then they want to go back with you. You start showing them these other horror movies that are referencing, and then they'll be like, oh my gosh, and they can keep going back to Cabin in the Woods and rewatching it over and over again to catch all those references that maybe they didn't get around the first time. Scream is still Scream is definitely, it's a very fun introduction to horror, I think, but at the same time, it also lives off of its references, and it's more specific to one genre of horror, like slashers and very specifically, which even for a lot of horror fans, a lot of big horror fans aren't in the slasher, aren't big of fans of slashers. Slashers are already a very niche subgenre within horror. Versus Cabin in the Woods, it has references to obviously Cabin in the Woods horror movies, zombie horror movies, monster flicks, two slashers. It has references to all the different subgenres, versus Scream is focusing mainly on the slasher subgenre, which a lot of people are already hard to sell them on slashers. So I think you have a little bit more fun because this isn't somebody that has never seen horror movies, it's just somebody that's not really into horror movies. So I think you give them a little taste of a little everything, plus a little more comedy for them to kind of be able to digest the film a little bit better.
But that's the thing with Scream. It's more specific. It's not a straight up slasher. It's kind of a little bit of a murder mystery. It knows what it's going for. It leans a little more into the murder mystery and the comedy than being a horror. It's definitely all three, which makes it very palatable. It's because a lot of murder mysteries also kind of fall into the thrillers. Like if you have the movie Seven, it's not quite a horror movie. It's more of a thriller, but you still have that murder mystery. You have those creepy elements. It's kind of what Scream goes for, but not as macabre. Cabin in the Woods, if you have somebody like, here's a movie, it's got a bunch of everything. Oh, you don't like Cabin in the Woods and creepy stuff? Well, that right there throws out the premise. Oh, you don't like zombies? Well, that's going to ruin that part of the movie. There's a lot of stuff in Cabin in the Woods where if you don't like certain things, they throw a lot at you. There's a lot that can turn somebody off.
There's a lot that can turn somebody off. There's a lot for them to turn them on. Versus Scream, it's, hey, you don't like slashers? Well, you're not really going to like this wink, wink, nudge, nudge movie to slashers. Like, yeah, there is a lot of murder mystery in it, but at the same time, and it's still not nearly like as comedic as the rest of the Scream franchise or Cabin in the Woods, which I think having more comedy for somebody that's not into horror is going to help them enjoy it more, regardless of how much of the horror stuff they latch onto.
And it's good that Scream's not as comedic as the others because it's the best one in the franchise. The comedy kind of ruins the others. The comedy in Cabin in the Woods is fine. It's a little bit of stoner comedy, especially from our Joker. And oh crap, where was I going with that? It's a little all over the place. It can seem kind of messy to somebody who doesn't know what's going on. That whole part of the movie with the people underground running the whole thing, that's going to make absolutely no sense. You're going to have to explain that to him in the middle of the movie. There's nothing you have to explain in Scream. You have a murder mystery, pop it in. Some of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, they might be like, hey, what's that? But you can watch Scream without knowing the meta stuff and still enjoy it. Cabin in the Woods, you need to understand the meta stuff eventually at some point to actually get what the movie's going for. The whole entire, the final few minutes of the movie are based off of meta stuff. It's going to make no sense. You don't get that payoff from Cabin at the Woods that you get at the end of Scream.
All right. Any other closing arguments or anything from you guys?
Yeah, just I guess a little last thing is be like I said, Cabin in the Woods is something I think it does benefit more for having a lot going on because, like I said, like if they don't latch on to certain things, they might latch on to other things. If they don't latch on to any of the horror, they still might latch on to comedy. They still can come away and go, "Oh, hey, that was still pretty funny," and I like how it was still making fun of horror movies. And then if they do, and say if they have the positive experience that they do enjoy it, and then they watch some of these other horror films, go back and revisit this movie, the payoff for them, will come down later. But I think whether they like it or dislike it, they're going to have a decent experience with it and are more open and would be more susceptible to watch something like Cabin in the Woods versus showing them Scream, which is more centric to horror fans and to a love letter of horror and specifically the slasher genre. Cabin in the Woods, I think it just has a little bit more to offer, even if it is a little bit messy. The final third act, you're still going to get to see just a bunch of monsters killing a bunch of people. Even if you don't know, it's still something fun. It's still visually interesting to watch. And the stuff with the underworld people, you don't really need any references for that. And it's just kind of, it is what it is. But like I said, I think Cabin, which just has a little bit more to offer and the chances of getting someone to latch onto it versus Scream.
Yeah, that third act, like you said, it's visually fun, but if somebody's not going to attach onto a slasher, they're not going to attach onto that. It's an extreme gore fest. The amount of bloodshed that's going on there can definitely turn some people off. I know a lot of people that like horror movies, but as soon as they get bloody and gory, they're like, nope, I'm done. And then all of that's for nothing. Scream, you keep saying it's an love letter to slashers. It's not just slashers though. It really is kind of like a murder mystery. You don't know who's under the mask. You have the police department involved. It's making fun of slasher movies as a murder mystery.
All right. Wow. You guys did a great job. Brought a lot of excellent things that made me think a lot. And I took even more notes than the first time. And so as I kind of dissect these a little bit, Anthony, do you have anything to bring?
Well, they were both pretty factual again. Couldn't find any flaws in the arguments. Yeah, they both had really good arguments. I would give the edge to Cabin in the Woods, though.
Yeah, I think I was looking at all of the arguments, and what I think I really liked of what Ryan was going for is that Scream does have more of a broader appeal. I mean, your guys' arguments are just so different in some ways, but yet so similar. You're both arguing for a meta horror movie, but it's almost apples and oranges because one of them has so much to offer, and then one of them has just like a more broad general thing to offer. And so I think Ryan just hit a little harder at the end when he talked about how Cabin in the Woods might turn people off because it offers too much and just the odds of turning somebody off makes a lot of sense, and that it's extreme gore, and so that can turn somebody off too. And I think he did a really good job of just talking about the broader appeal of the murder mystery. And yeah, you run the risk of, if somebody doesn't like a slasher movie, then maybe they won't like it. But I think the odds might just be more in his favor. So I would say you guys are tied up 1-1.
That's a pretty good battle, though. That was a good round.
That was good.
I do love Cabin in the Woods. It's my second favorite horror movie of all time. So
Yeah, sure, that made that
didn't
hard.
want to have. I was like, I want to go with that, but it also too far.
All right. Well, now we start, if I can cue up the music, we start the beloved speed round. Creepy music. Put this over there so it's not too creepy. And I also have a graphic, so graphic department, here you go. Woo! Yeah.
Such high quality.
Such high quality. I like the lightning bolts
Production
too.
design.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of questions here. I don't know if we'll get through all of them, but we wanted to have some fun, open it up to some questions that are a little bit more out of the box than ones we've asked before. So how this will work in the speed round is I will say the question, and then whoever is first to respond will get to be the first person to respond in the speed round. And you will get 30 seconds to say your point, and then you'll get a 15-second rebuttal, just to keep it nice and short. So it is challenging just to keep it that short, but it is possible. And I will queue up that on my phone. All right, you guys understand the rules?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, so first question. Which haunted house could you survive the night in?
Haunted by spirits, or just haunted like there was a presence of someone there?
Any way you want to define haunted house.
The Michael Myers house.
I'll go with the house from the first Conjuring.
All right. So Ryan, whenever you're ready, I will start the timer.
I'm ready. If it's not Halloween Michael Myers and no one else is going there, I just stay there and sit there all night.
Right.
There's no ghosts. There's nothing creepy. The worst that's going to happen is someone might be like, oh, someone's in the house. Let's throw rocks at the window. And then what? I'm good.
All right. Well, Devon, you can go whenever you're ready.
To avoid not getting killed in the Conjuring house, all you gotta do is not play any games, not play with any toys. I'm not playing with any of these creepy little toys that are laying around. I don't feel like playing hide and go clap, so I'm gonna just chill in my room. I'm gonna smoke a bowl and I'm gonna go to bed. The thing with Michael Myers, it's all about coincidence and anomalies. Yeah, he just happens to break out on Halloween, but he could happen to break out on any other night. You don't know what night that's gonna be. That could be the night that you are chilling at the Halloween house. You never know. It's all coincidence with Michael Myers.
And time. All right. Good job with that first one. All right. You guys have a 15-second rebuttal. So, Ryan, you can respond.
And maybe coincidence that he gets out on Halloween every night, but through how many versions of Michael Myers, and no matter what timeline, it's always Halloween. The odds are in my favor. I'm totally risking that.
All right. And Devon.
Exactly. The odds are in your favor, but what makes Michael Myers terrifying is the risk of you never knowing, of the randomness. You just don't know. So, he could still be out there, and he's more relentless than any Conjuring ghost will ever be.
All right, Anthony, let's go ahead and check those facts. Anything that they said that needs to be checked? Does Michael Myers always just come out on Halloween?
With what I could find, I believe that is the case. I think Halloween is this time to shine.
Any other facts we need to correct?
No, they were factual.
Cool. All right, Ryan, which way were you leaning on this one? Or not Ryan. Anthony. I don't know why I said
I was about to say, I was like,
I would go towards mine.
I'm leaning with the Michael Myers house because Yeah, I just don't. I'm messing with those ghosts from The Conjuring and Michael Myers. I think someone can take him on. Like,
Yeah. I liked both of the arguments, just like the idea of like you just don't mess with it and the odds are kind of in your favor. It was almost both of your guys' arguments in a way. But I think just the fact that there aren't any ghosts or anything like that. I'm pretty sure maybe there was some kids that in the first Conjuring movie where they didn't really want to play, but then they were still inflicted with like the horrors of the house. So I don't know. I guess I would go with Ryan on that one. So Ryan.
There was no really getting around that one. After that opening one, I was just like,
But yeah, I mean, I would have chosen The Conjuring too, because I don't think anybody's ever died in a Conjuring movie, right?
What happened to the dog
That's
in the
true.
first one?
Oh, the
except
dog.
the dog.
Yeah, except for the dog.
not the dog.
Oh yeah, I did
not
never
letting
bring
a
that
dog
up.
die.
Nobody ever did die in those movies.
Yeah.
Oh man, good one.
All
There's
right.
even dogs in my house.
Prevention is better than treatment. We give flu.
Yeah. This brought to you by Flu Shots. All right. So let's bring it down to the Movie Talk My Movie Fans Facebook group. That's why we exist together. It's how we found each other. It's this awesome community that we have. And our admins are always there for us. So I wanted to ask you guys, maybe an admin or a member of the group. The question would be, oh, I wrote it down. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. That which Movie Talk My Movie Fan member do you think would survive or who would die first in a horror movie?
Who would die first?
Who would die first?
Oh, I'm gonna feel bad for throwing someone under the bus.
Let's try not to be racist.
All right, I'm gonna go Johnny. I'm gonna go John.
Jonathan Youngblood.
I'm gonna go with our local Batman.
Michael Phillips. So Jonathan or Michael Phillips, who would die first in a horror movie? All right, Devon, whenever you're ready.
Jonathan's just too much of a sweetheart. If anybody just knows Jonathan at all and just like can ruse him into helping, like, I mean, Jonathan will help you with your groceries. He will pull over and he will help you change a tire because he's not going to keep driving past you. Like Jonathan, he's just too sweet that he'd be too susceptible to death and helping any stranger, no matter how creepy they are. Because if they need help, that's what he's there for. That's what Jonathan does.
All right, and time. All right. And then Ryan can go whenever you're ready.
You think Jonathan is nice? Michael's nice. Michael, he wouldn't even have to help someone out. He would just be like that innocent smiling person over there that like Michael Myers is just like, I'm gonna go get that guy. He's in the way. He's just too friendly. He's the obvious person to go for. You don't go for the person who's helping people out. They're around people.
Gotcha.
Michael's just going to be walking down the road and then just no more Batman.
No more Batman. All right, and time. You get a 15-second rebuttal. So, Devon, use your seconds wisely.
Like I said, Jonathan, he's just so sweet, and he's a very small person. I've met him in person. He's a small person. Michael Phillips is also a meme king. The comedic relief always lasts a little bit through the horror movie, always survives. He at least will crack a joke and be witty enough to survive.
And time. Ryan.
So are you saying that Jonathan's not funny? Jonathan is hilarious. They are both jokesters. If anything, they're both going to kind of survive, but Michael's going to be the one that he ends up by himself. Jonathan's going to be at the party. Jonathan's socializing. And
Okay.
then Michael's like,
And time. Man, that was hard right at the end. Man. I like the arguments that you guys brought forward. That both of them are pretty nice. I mean, I might give a little
They're
bit
both
more.
nice and funny.
Yeah, I might give a little bit more of an edge to Jonathan. But Michael is also maybe a little bit funnier than Jonathan. So both of them are nice and funny. But yeah, it just kind of depends on which one you would lean towards according to the horror tropes of who's going to die first. So Anthony, do you have any thoughts or any facts that you need to check? Is Jonathan actually a nice person?
As far as I can see, Jonathan is a nice person. However, his niceness is going to get him killed first.
Yeah. And I feel like Michael Phillips, he's a nice guy, but he's not like proactively nice. He's like nice if he has to be nice. He's not like a mean person. He's kind of like more neutral. And just the fact, I don't know. I really liked Devon's point that he's kind of a meme lord and you need that comedic guy. And Jonathan's like a witty kind of a funny, but the comedic guy in the horror movie is like the jokester guy, the meme guy. So I'm going to say that Jonathan actually dies first. So I will give that point to Devon.
Sorry, Johnny. I love you. We're just not going into any haunted houses together.
Yeah. All right. So you guys are tied up 2-2. First person of 5 points wins. Here we go. In 30 seconds, pitch a Freddy vs. Jason type of horror film with 2 other horror icons. You might have to think about that one for a little bit. So a Freddy vs. Jason type horror film with 2 other horror icons.
Do they have to be an actual person, or can we go with spirits?
We can go with spirits. Just any character at all from a horror movie.
The spirit from Paranormal Activity and the spirits from The Conjuring.
Okay. I'm going Leatherface versus Jason.
All right. So, is the Paranormal Activity demon named Toby? Is his name Toby?
Yeah,
Toby is
Toby.
one of the names, yeah.
Okay.
They've given him a few different names or possible identities. It's a little vague, but Toby, I can go with Toby.
And then I would say you have to pick which Conjuring movie for the spirits. Like, is it the witch from the first one, or is it Annabelle, or second one, is it the old guy, or
Is it the nun?
Valak.
yeah, the nun, or like the tall demon? What was the one? Like the really tall, lengthy one.
Crooked Man.
Yeah.
I'll go with Annabelle.
Okay.
Annabelle works best for where I wanted to go.
All right. So Toby versus Annabelle. Let's go.
So Toby and Annabelle are both trying to possess a body to try and kind of come into the physical world. So you have Annabelle and Toby, they're going at it. You've got creepy house, new family moves in, just happens to be possessed or haunted by Toby, but they also happen to find the Annabelle doll there. Now you've got the ground set for an all-out war between the 2 spirits to see who can get to their body, get control of a body first before the family's like, you know what? We should move out of this house because this house is creepy.
All right, and time. All right, so the battle for the bodies. And then Leatherface versus Jason.
Okay, so the Hewitt clan, they're going on this twisted family trip to where they want to go to these different places to see where they could just do some more killings. They hear a lot of killings be going on Camp Crystal Lake, so they want in on the action. They go and start killing off these kids. Jason is like, not on my turf. And then so he comes after the Hewitt clan, kills all of them, and then Leatherface is like, no, that's my family. So like it's, Jason and Leatherface, they both are about defending their family and their homes. And so it's just an old school throwdown between these 2 behemoths of the horror realm to see who will defend their land
All
or
right.
family.
In time. And I give you guys a little bit extra time. I'll give you another 30 seconds just because it's kind of a big idea. So, Ryan, you have another 30 seconds whenever you're ready.
So for possession films, it's always one ghost in the house. We've never seen two trying to go at each other. And I know with Paranormal Activity, it's always Toby's trying to get into the young body of the boy, but he doesn't mind possessing the body of a woman or a young girl to temporarily use to go from host to host, as we've seen from 1 and 2 and 3. Toby doesn't care. So you have Annabelle playing around with a bunch of young girls of the family. Toby's not going to be too happy with that. And Jason protecting what?
All right.
Crystal
Time.
Lakes? Oh, damn. I went too long on my first one.
That's okay. All right. Devon, whenever you're ready.
The thing with Annabelle versus Toby, the thing is, like, there's not going to be, like, any real action going on because they're both trying to possess the same body. Only one of them's possessing something at one time, where they just get throw furniture across the room and see who can do it the most stylish. At least with Leatherface versus Jason, we're going to get some good action. We get the Hewitt clan worked in there. Yes, Jason, he stalks Camp Crystal Lake and nobody's going to kill on his ground. So he's like, yo, because this is me. So yeah, at least we're going to actually have some action there versus just two ghosts trying to out ghost each other. I don't think that's gonna play out very entertainingly.
All right, and time. All right, yeah, I think it came down to what Devon said at the end, that there's just more action, I think, in a Leatherface versus Jason. But Anthony, any thoughts or any facts that we need to check?
Facts were good. Thoughts. I'm way more interested in seeing two ghosts go at it than I am seeing Leatherface and Jason. I've seen Jason go after a lot of different people. Never seen two ghosts go at it. Way more invested in that scenario.
Yeah, I think that is new and interesting, but I think that overall Devon just pitched a better movie that I could see and visualize. So I will give the point to Devon. So Devon has 3, Ryan has 2. All right, next question. And you can kind of be creative or whatever with this one, but what is the best horror subgenre? So what is the best one? So you mentioned earlier slasher or whatever. So what is the best horror subgenre?
I'm gonna go possession films.
Possession. Ryan is thinking.
I had to mute my mic for a second. Someone was going through to let it talk out. Do thrillers count?
Yeah, we can go thriller.
I'm going to go with thriller.
All right. You're talking about the Michael Jackson music video, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Werewolves.
Okay. All right, Devon, whenever you're ready.
Possession films are the best subgenre because they can kind of hit two ends very well, because you can get people, because it's centered around religion or paranormal things or both, and it usually mixes the two, which are usually kind of on opposite sides. So like whether it's somebody that sees things in a more religious way, they're gonna be terrified of that aspect, the demon aspect. And possession films, they kind of have the same formula, but if it hits all those beats, you usually have a pretty good horror film. You get some good body horror in there during the possession.
And time. All right, Ryan, whenever you are ready.
For me, possession movies don't really scare me, because if you don't buy into the premise that they set up with what somebody could be possessed by, then you're not scared. A thriller, what scares me the most is something that could actually happen. Seeing a physical person stalk or haunt somebody like Scream or Seven. Seven is one of the most underrated not a horror movies ever, and it's just one man against an entire police department, and that shit is scary.
And time. All right. Whenever you're ready, Devon.
I think when you're talking favorite subgenre, you're thinking of a favorite subgenre that you're going into, that you know what you're going in for. Thriller is much too broad of a subgenre. What is a thriller? It could be a murder mystery. It could be a cult thing. It could be a serial killer. It could be a break-in. That could. A thriller is just a very.
All right, Anthony, or not Anthony, Ryan. Whenever you are ready.
Creepy, realistic people, cult, stalk, break-in, don't care. They all work for me. A possession, I think maybe 2 have maybe jumped once or twice. They're a little more iffy if you don't buy into the premise. Creepy people really exist, and they will kill you.
Yeah. If you learn nothing else from today, creepy people do exist, and they will kill you. Okay. All right. So great arguments. I love both subgenres. Anthony, any thoughts or things to check?
Factually sound again, but I'm gonna lean with the possession because I agree. Thriller doesn't always have to be a horror movie.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you can kind of get off on technicality there if we're talking semantics. I did allow it, but I think Devon did a better job of talking about like the specific horror elements of the possession movies. So I will give that point to Devon. So that's game point for Devon. 1 more point and he wins, but you can come back, Ryan. It's still anybody's game. All right. Next question. What is the dumbest horror movie cliche?
The
Running upstairs.
The virgin doesn't die.
So virgin, no die, and running up the stairs.
Running upstairs, yeah.
All right. So Anthony, did you hear which one of them was first?
Yeah, it was running up the stairs was first, I believe.
Okay. So
Yeah,
Devon.
I cut him off.
All right. So Devon, you can go first.
Running up the stairs is really ridiculous because it makes no sense in any context. When has running up the stairs ever led to safety? When has it ever led to an exit? Why there's no doors upstairs? Running up the stairs never makes any sense because there's no feasible way to escape and nobody would ever do it. It just makes zero sense. So it's like, why does every single person run up the stairs when it is something that no sound human person would ever do?
All right. And then whenever you're ready, Ryan.
If somebody's bedroom is upstairs and they have a weapon up there and they run upstairs to use a weapon against their attacker, go right ahead. That makes complete sense. If somebody's bedroom up there and they have a gun up there, sure. How does the virgin never die? You've got people that are killing countless people and they don't know them personally. How are they supposed to know? And the virgin just magically lives. It makes no sense. It's magic.
I think we can all tell. I mean, if we're being honest. All right, Devon, your 15-second rebuttal.
Maybe the killer monster just has a heart and doesn't think that anybody should ever go out without getting some. So, I mean, they just might feel some remorse for him. But running up the stairs, even to get a weapon, if you're trying to escape, you are trying to escape. If you have a better means to way out, almost literally
right. And
100% of the time.
And Ryan?
If you have a weapon upstairs, say you have a shotgun and you're being chased by Ghostface, a shotgun is going to take him out. A virgin it makes no sense how they tell. It's a random stranger and they're just like, yo, I'm going to stereotype you. You're the virgin.
All right. Time. Yeah, I think Ryan just knocked the running up the stairs thing a little bit. I was like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But then he was like, well, what if they have a gun? I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. So, Anthony, any fact checks or thoughts? I wonder if we can count how many horror movies actually do these cliches.
Oh wow! I think
too
the
many.
virgin one is probably more played out. It's the one that makes the least amount of sense, I think, because what is the killer just going around and just following these people's sex lives, in order to kill them? I just think that one is just way more absurd. Running up the stairs makes more sense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're both dumb, but I think the virgin one makes less sense, so I'll give that point to Ryan. So it is 3-4.
I can only think of one where the Virgin not dying makes sense, and that's It Follows.
That's true.
The only one.
Yeah, and that one they actually like wrote it into like the subtext of the movie itself. All right.
4-3.
4-3. So Devon has 4, Ryan has 3.
Oh, it's getting close.
It is. Next question: which 20th century horror film? So not just like Fox 21st Century, but one that came out before the 2000s. Which of those horror films should be remade?
Hellraiser.
Freaks.
Freaks. All right, Hellraiser was first.
I think in the surge of these very progressive horror films that have been coming out, Hellraiser definitely one could benefit in updated technology, because you go back and look at it, the effects are very cheesy, even if they were cutting edge for the time. We could update the technology, but you can also update like exploring the mythology more of people that seek out this ultimate pleasure, this ultimate pain, and seeing what really makes up a evil human being, like what makes people flawed. I think we could explore that with a director like Nicholas Winding Refn.
All right, Ryan.
They're not going to remake Hellraiser. They're still making straight-to-DVD sequels. They just have one come out this year. They're on at least 8 or 10, something we can fact-check. Freaks is this great horror movie from the 1930s where it's just off. It's not a straight-up horror. It's creepy, and everything just feels off. It's a very simple premise. You have this freak show, and just everything is off. If you bring that to the modern day, give someone like Ryan Murphy's basically the American Horror Story.
All right, 2 good opening arguments. Let's rebut. 15 seconds.
Yes, they are still making them, and they've been terrible for a long time. That's why it should start fresh with a beloved horror icon to really rejuvenate it again. Versus Freaks would never get made today, because especially with this very politically correct climate, it would be problematic. People would be knocked down the casting, no matter if they didn't get the right freak. It would be controversial.
It's a good rebuttal. Ryan, whenever you're ready.
Some of the best horror movies that have been remade have been controversial. Wes Craven's The Last House on the Left was hated upon release, yet we have a remake just maybe 10 years ago. Why not remake Freaks? Who cares if it's controversial? It's what horror movies are.
Man, that was a good one. All right, Anthony, did you fact check what Ryan wanted you to fact check?
Yeah, so there was the newest Hellraiser movie was Hellraiser Judgment, came out this year. There's 10 Hellraiser movies in the franchise. Yeah.
Okay, there are 10 of them, but Devon also said that they're pretty terrible, and so they could deserve a fresh start. I like the idea of updating the effects and exploring the mythology of what makes a person evil. I have never heard of Freaks before, but it sounded really interesting. And the idea...
I just looked it up. That movie sounds pretty bonkers. I would actually be really down for a remake of this movie.
Yeah.
The original was really short, too. It was only a 63-minute movie.
Yeah, I mean, so it's ripe for a remake. And the knock against it, which Devon brought, was the political correctness. But then Ryan came back and said that's what horror movie is it's controversy. So I think I'll probably, I guess for the sake of the drama, give Ryan the point there. So it's tied 4-4. The next point would win. And yeah, I want to see both of these movies. But I guess Freaks would just have me a little bit more curious. So that's where I land on that. All right, final question. Let's make it a good one. I have a couple questions left. I'm trying to pick the best one. All right. Let's go with the horror master himself, Stephen King. What is the best Stephen King adaptation?
It.
The new one?
New one.
1408.
Interesting choice.
Very interesting.
All right. So, Devon, whenever you're ready.
I just think everything about the new It is exactly the way that you adapt a book, but it's also the way that you adapt a Stephen King book. It takes all the best parts, the best essence. It does follow it faithfully, but also makes the necessary changes to make it work better cinematically. They are doing the right thing by splitting it into 2 films and not trying to cram it all in. I just think everything about the way of doing it, it's absolutely terrifying. It's a great coming-of-age story, has great effects in it as well, and a wonderful Pennywise performance that nobody thought would live up to the original Tim Curry performance.
And time. Whenever you're ready, Ryan.
One of the great things about 1408 is that it's kind of a little bit of a journey of a descent into madness of a man who's not really a believer of what he's made a living on. And when he starts actually coming face to face with it, the seams between reality start really not making sense. It's good, but some of the changes that they've made to make it fit the movie better have also kind of weakened one of the characters, and they're changing the backstories around. So when we actually do get that sequel, there's going to be things that have changed in there for absolutely no reason. But it's not a bad adaptation.
And time. All right. Yeah, 15 seconds, Devon.
It was not only a wonderful Stephen King adaptation, it was a success commercially as well, made lots of money. Nobody's seen 1408. 1408 also is not very interesting visually versus it has a very amazing production design with great effects and cinematography.
Time. All right, Ryan, your last 15 seconds. This is for the win.
Okay, gotta take a deep breath here. 1408 is incredibly visually interesting. You've got a single apartment, and the amount of different sets that they cram into there, the amount of different weather settings that they throw into are incredible. And just because it was successful doesn't mean it's better. It made money, but that doesn't mean it's critically better.
All right. That's a good one. Any facts to check, Anthony?
No, not really. Yeah, no.
When is that second one supposed to come out for it?
I believe
Next year?
summer.
They're filming it right now.
And did you say, Ryan, that there was planned a sequel for 1408 as well?
No.
Okay.
The changes to it, I said.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Anthony, is there a direction that you are leaning?
I think conceptually, I think it's got to go to it because I've read both the books. It was just seems way harder to adapt into a movie, and for them to pull it off the way that they did, I think that's just a testament to like the talent behind the camera, in front of the camera, just all around the board with making that movie, and like they did a stellar job, and I think it's just a better movie all around, more accessible than 1408 was. I think it's got to go to it.
Yeah, I think Ryan brought some really great points with defending some of the visual aspects of it, and then talking about this just journey and descent into madness, which is something that Stephen King is known for writing about, these obsessed characters. But I think Devon brought a little bit more, that it had really great parts, that it was faithful to certain important parts of the book, and just that it was a coming of age story. And I think that's always another element that Stephen King has, that he seems to write very well, and that translated into the movie. And so I think Devon just talked about a little bit more. So for that reason, I'll give him the final point and the mantle as champion. So good job, Devon.
Hey, keeping the belt. Good fight, though. That was a lot of fun. That was a really good even battle.
It's hard to go after it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like it, and then I saw it. I was like, God damn, this is good.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I really, really liked it. Second time, some of the scares didn't really hold up for me, but it was still, and it's a good movie.
It's
just
creepy.
like on a foundational level.
1408's underrated too. Like 1408's pretty underrated.
Yeah.
I think it's like one of John Cusack's better performances, and I'm not a John Cusack fan at all.
Right.
Underrated for sure.
Yeah, 1408 is a very, very good movie. I think it's probably creepier than it. So if I didn't find it that scary, especially on repeat viewings, it loses its scare factor. But I just think it was way harder of a movie to pull off.
Yeah. Well, good job, you guys. Before we sign off, anybody want to plug anything? Devon, you have some stuff in development, or where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Jesus12. You can find me on Instagram at Devon_Taylor. I do a lot of photography, so I post a lot of things there. It's mainly what I've been working on. I got some short films coming up in a bit too, so you can go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Devon Taylor. I got things, lots of things in the works, and possibly a new podcast coming, but things are in the works.
Awesome. All right, Ryan, where can people find you?
I really don't have any media outlets that I post on, so just in the group.
Yeah, hit him up. Anthony, what's going on with your life?
Going on my life, just finishing up this semester of school. Just got through midterms. Started writing a horror screenplay for a short film, actually. Been working on that. It's been taking up a lot of time. So hopefully it's an original take of a ghost story. Maybe I'll send it out to a couple of you guys when I finish it, see what you guys think. Yeah, that's what's been going on with me.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's the great thing about the group is that we can all share content and we can all kind of bounce ideas off of each other because at the end of the day, we love film and we love talking about it. And we are a community too. So I'm glad that you guys were able to come together today. And I'm glad that you guys at home were able to watch. Remember to subscribe, iTunes or Spotify. There's going to be an audio version of this episode. So you might be listening to this as an audio version, but you can also look at the YouTube just to see if you want to see what Ryan's ghost face looks like or what all of our other faces look like. You can jump in on that. And then I will announce the October winner for our prize really, really soon. So you still have time to get entered. If you want to, just jump on patreon.com/movie talk by movie fans, and you can find us there. And I will announce it at the end of the month. But last month we gave away a Black Panther movie. Year before, or the month before that, we gave away some movie tickets. So who knows what's coming? And then next month, I think we only have 2 episodes, and then 2 episodes in December, just because of the holidays. So look forward to those and look forward to more prizes. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.